Howdy, folks. Welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And today is Sunday, and the return of Mr. Bryan Parker. It's been a while. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing? I figure that this virus, the only thing I really see spreading this virus is the media. So it's spreading over the airwaves. So, for tonight's call, I figured I better wear a mask.
Whoa,
Uh,
sorry.
what do masks do best? They make you shut up. They keep your
Yes.
voice down.
What does yours say? Oh, shut up. Okay, I couldn't see it there for a second.
Just shut up.
That's funny. So, how's everything going down your way?
Oh, going wonderful. Going well.
Good.
I have talked to a lot of people all over the U.S. and actually around the world, if you want to say around the world. And it seems like what I'm seeing here is pretty typical everywhere. We're all seeing the same thing,
Yeah.
and that is a serious mental virus that has gone around and it's gotten into everybody's psyche. Um,
Yeah.
and that's really where it's spreading at.
I agree wholeheartedly, but I still feel like there's some kind of underlying factor, something in preparation. That I can't put my finger on, but that's just feeling I'm getting. The biggest thing I've been saying the whole time is a financial reset. I mean, that's going to come regardless, but I feel like there's some underlying factor though. I've been saying on here, I've been trying to stay positive and things like that, and I like seeing the people that are reacting in the good ways, like giving out in the food and things like that. And I had somebody bring to my attention today about the truck drivers, and I knew that they were closing down a lot of these truck stops and things like that. And we have Big Al that comes on here, and he's a truck driver, and he was even talking about having trouble getting food at different places. So, I've got some recent donations where my Zoom's taken care of and things like that, and I had given some to the hot dog girl, but I really want to try to organize something, and I'm going to try to take this upon myself. Depending upon how these closures go. I know after midnight tonight, more than 10 people can't gather in the state of Tennessee. So, but I want to maybe make some brown bag lunches and take it to a truck stop or something and try to give it out to some of these truckers because they're the ones keeping it rolling right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the supply chain is looking at, serious jeopardy. I mean, Al has brought up situations with the closing of the truck stops. We know like the waysides and the rest stops have, they're shutting those down. And it's going to make it very difficult um, for, well, one, for our supply chain. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also going to make it inconvenient for a lot of us to travel in between and talk to each other and stuff like that. And there's also other things, and this goes back to me wearing that face mask in the beginning. And you said, groups of 10 or more. I know there's a church in Louisiana that the police came in and broke up, said, oh, you guys can't meet, no crowds, and they threatened to call in the National Guard on them. And so, that they want to get rid of the groups, they want to get rid of the churches. Um, and so what are they doing? To me, it's really closing down contact between people, which means that shows such as yours, there's nothing more important than things like this, because this is what we need. We need to stay in contact with each other, because I could almost guarantee the next thing that will go out could be internet service.
Yeah, I've been
Um,
saying that.
I speak with my mom on a regular basis. I'm down on Southwest Florida. She's on Northern Michigan, and we communicate back and forth, both using the cell phone, never with a problem. Yesterday, our call got dropped while we were both on cell phone, so she switched to landline. The landline got dropped twice during our call. I mean, very, very peculiar. Now, then again, I could say that I don't want to chalk this up and give any glory or whatever to the powers that be for doing this. You could also say that since people are at home and maybe self quarantining, if you want to call it that, that they've got a lot of time on their hands. What are they doing? They're on the phone. They're using up the airwaves. You know what I mean? And so that could be clogging things up as well.
Now, I
So
will say though, if it does go down, and I'm hearing rumors of possible power outages, in my area, which who knows what's going to happen. But if that's when the mass chaos is really going to ensue if things like that happen.
yeah, exactly. And one of the things I think that people should pay attention to is that they're talking about self quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, a lot of your people and people that follow our Wayne Steiger, different channels that are here, we are more like spiritually minded. But I started really going down the road. I started in the spiritual minded area. I went, took me into the legal minded area, which brought me back into spiritual minded area
It
because
always comes back around.
I saw the former was based on the latter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when they talk about self quarantine, well, what are the results of self quarantine? When you are stuck at home, you start realizing, oh, I wish I had this or I wish I had that right now. And you start actually having to exercise the right of self determination, which, if
Yep.
you look into documents of the United Nations, that's always normally the first or second article it mentions self determination. And along with self determination comes self responsibility. And people don't pay attention to that. Everybody wants to talk about their rights, but they don't realize that you have not just a right, but a duty to be responsible for yourself and
To
to take care of
exercise
your
them.
own self. Yes. And to wipe your own butt and not go buy all the toilet paper at the store to take care of covering it.
Yep.
So, it, and so I think these are some of the things that they're trying to show everybody. They're trying to actually force it on everybody. Look, this is what you've got. This is what you can do. What else is self quarantine? Self quarantine is also the right of self exile. Well, what are all these shows that have been on for years talking about getting off the grid? Well, yeah, get out of the system. You don't need it. Don't rely on it. If they go and send out these checks for $1,000 per person, $3,000 tops per family, don't sign and cash those. That means you are only accepting what had taken place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
say, "Oh yeah, it was okay with me." No, they're buying you off.
I'm sure
Isn't that
there's a
something the mob
disclaimer
used
in
to do?
there. I'm sure there's a disclaimer in there.
Yeah, sure there is. But isn't
Small
that what the
print.
mob used to do? Didn't the mob buy people off, buy protection? Yeah, here, cash this. Oh no, you can't come after us now. You cash the check.
I'm wondering, even if they do send all this out, like I said, it may stand up until people go through those checks, but literally, I just don't see the money that it's printed on is going to be worth anything.
Well, yeah, it probably not. And this is something that Gregory Manorino or I can't pronounce his Italian name. He brought up today, and it was a video somebody sent me. And like you said last night, please don't send me these little videos and clips of this and that. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't have a corner on the market of the truth of what's going on. Almost nobody does. But Gregory brought up a good point, and I was amazed at what he brought up, and I understood then why somebody sent it to me. Number one, if you send me a clip, tell me why you're sending it to me. And I'll give me a
Right.
decision whether I want to watch it or not. But
Especially if it's an hour long or something.
yeah, but and this one was like 45, 50-minute long interview. But then I understood why it was sent to me is because about halfway through, he brought up something that I was talking about this last October. And this last October, it was a situation of repo loans. Are you familiar with repo loans? I think actually the last interview I did with you, I brought it up, and you weren't
That's
aware.
about all I know. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it.
Well, what? Okay. Well, starting September of last year, the banks, for some reason, and I think I would point my finger towards look at Deutsche Bank. The banks started not having any faith in each other. And so instead of doing these loans at 1 or 2%, and these are only overnight loans, the next morning it bounces back out. So instead of doing that, they're charging as much as 8 to 15% for these loans, for these overnight loans. And these
Wow.
banks are saying, we can't afford this crap. It said, we're going to go under. So what did they do? Like everybody, they turned to their God, everybody else's God, the Treasury. Said, "You got to help us out. You got to help us out, man. And we're gonna go bankrupt." A bank going bankrupt that prints money out of nothing anyway.
Right.
So what happened? The Treasury agreed to it, and the Treasury has been doing these loans. Last count that I heard, and I heard this about an hour ago, okay, is at $7 trillion right now in overnight loans the Treasury has been making to these banks. All right, now that's a big number. But
Yeah.
let's go back now. Let's look at history. Everybody, you got to look at history and realize what's happening today. Okay, go back into history and go back to 2008. In 2008, there was what? The bank bailout. And that bank bailout was what, 600 to 800 billion dollars, and they had it all over the news. Everybody was freaking out. How can you bail out these banks? 600 to 800 billion dollars. Well, guess what? Secretly, they've been doing this up to the tune now, as of today, of $7 trillion, and nobody knows about it, and nobody's talking about
I know.
it.
You're absolutely spot on.
Now here's the thing. After that bank bailout, I think it was in December of 2008. What happened right after that? We had the 2009 burst. We had the 2009 economic bubble burst and went into recession. And so when I saw this happening, when I spotted it in October of this last year, I was telling people, I was posting about it. Nobody was, and what do you think is going to happen after $7 trillion of money being given to the banks by the Federal Reserve and the Treasury?
That's one, and
Um,
this is not just here; it's worldwide.
oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. I think this is all about a new monetary system.
One of the things that people should realize, I mean, I know it was like a wake up call for me when I started researching things. And I started researching like what the Patriot Guru, Guano people, whatever, talk about with the U.S. bankruptcy in the 1930s under
Mhm.
FDR. And I started researching that. There was other links that were popping up that on Google won't pop up today. On Bing or DuckDuckGo, they'll pop up. But I was having links pop up to Australia and to England and to Canada. They were all going through the same exact financial crisis the US was in the 30s. Thought, wow, isn't that interesting? It's like, guess what? We're not just independent and alone.
Mhm.
We are all ruled by the money we use. We are all ruled by the coin of the realm. That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. You know that before we had talked about, and I just want to get into this because I know this is something major that's happened in your life, and to me, it's just a testament of things that happen to some of these hardcore truthers, especially when you talk about the government and things like that. You know, we used to talk a lot about sovereignty and contracts and things like that. And I don't know if a lot of people out there know, but Bryan actually his house caught fire this past year, and he had a house fire, and it's kind of strange, but you know, what I'm kind of boiling down to is it seemed to be right along the time when you were really hardcore into that kind of
Yeah,
information.
yeah, absolutely. And since that occurred, I've decided that I'm not going to let up. I'm going to double down on it.
Good
You
for
know,
you.
absolutely. And we're talking about Queen of the Realm, and that's what really rules everything. That's what really runs everything. And there had been some research that I've been doing. Actually, it was research that I was turned on to by a guy who had been a member of the Dragon Society out of England.
Really.
And this is one of these background societies people don't hear about. I
Yeah.
mean, people talk about the Masons and stuff and secret societies. Well, I'm sorry. You know about the Masons? Guess what? They're not much of a secret, are they?
Right.
you know,
And
so
the
there's people
dragons,
behind them.
Is the Dragon Society associated with the Vril Society?
Um, they're likely knit together, yeah.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
But anyway, that got me into really looking at different words in scripture, what they really meant, such as the word worship and where it really came from. And I had a hunch of where it came from, but getting into some of the information that they explained, it totally opened it up to me, which was the word workshop. Workshop and worship are the origins. Okay. And so I thought, well, wait a minute, what does everybody do? We're going to work, trying to freaking make the money and this and that. Well, before you even get paid or I get paid, what comes out? The money goes directly to IRS or whoever, and then you go beg back for it again April 15th. You know what I mean?
Beg
So
to get
it's
our
like,
own money back.
yeah, they get automatically paid. So who at your work or your worship, who are you worshiping? Who are you really worshiping? All right. Who are you working for? You know? And so that evening that occurred, I had been studying this that afternoon. And that evening going into work, I sat in my car for 20 minutes or so. And I had my own form of communication with the powers that be. Um, hey, we talked about pulling out the rod sometime. We should do that. But anyway,
We can do it.
I had my form of communication with the powers that be, and I let them know that from here on out, that the work of my hands was dedicated to my creator, not to them. Whether they profited off it or not, that my intent, because everything is about intent,
Absolutely.
my intent was to glorify my creator. And that's what it was all about. And I actually had a very profitable evening that night, like I've told you. I was kind of surprised. And then on my way home, I pulled up my street and I thought, oh, wow, the dew's really heavy tonight. But as I got closer to the house, I realized it was actually a fire somewhere. And the closer to the house I got, I saw the billows of smoke coming out and realized it was my home. And was able to get to the door. I heard the dogs barking, yell for the dogs. They were hiding underneath my bed in the back bedroom and they were scared. They wouldn't come out. I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
But
remember the pictures you sent me. I mean, and it does look like it was a quick flash fire.
yeah, it burned. I've had around 7 investigators in there before and after the case. Initially, they tried to figure out how it started. That, from what I've seen from the fire chief, and nobody's been able to figure out, or insurance, nobody could figure out how it started. And then they had a bigger question: how did it go out? Because there's no sprinklers, nothing like that. They couldn't figure out how it went out. And this was a duplex, and it only happened on one side of the duplex. Their side was okay.
Hmm.
Um, and so how it got put out, yeah, became really the real quandary. And all they could really find is it burned from the damage done extremely hot and fast for about 5 minutes.
There wasn't, they didn't say if a stove was on or anything like that.
No, there's no gas going
Where
to.
did it start?
They don't know.
Oh, they
That
don't.
I never found a pinpoint of it. Well, it was in the kitchen area, but there's no gas stove in there. Everything's electric, and I don't use a microwave. Okay, so there's no microwave in there. Um, I don't use the oven really, and I'm single. There's no reason to be making any big turkey dinners for people or anything like that. Um, all I had done that day is I probably heated up a can of soup and made a sandwich, but that would have been a couple hours before I went to work. So,
Right.
eh, yeah, it's a big question as to what really happened there. Um,
But you
and
kind of
it's
got a chance to get back to your roots, so to say, right? I mean, forced
yeah,
into it, really.
yeah. Something interesting also was that I had court at 8:30 the next morning, um, and I had to call the attorney at like 2 o'clock in the morning, standing outside with fire trucks all around me and stuff, trying to explain to him that yeah, I'm probably not going to be making court tomorrow morning.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty good excuse, though.
Yeah, but I felt the timing of that was very interesting. Now, there's timing of something else that happened as well. Um, I've got a group on Facebook called Tactical Sovereignty, Administrating the Estate. Okay.
Mhm.
And when I started this group, the intention was because at that time I was brand new to internet, any of this kind of stuff, right? So, um, my girlfriend was like, "Oh, you need to get a Facebook page. You need to get on Facebook. We can communicate back and forth on Messenger that way." It's like, okay, whatever, I don't care. So I got on Facebook, started a Facebook page, you know, personal page, and then as I was researching things and I wanted to save something, it would say, "Oh, do you want to save it to your group?" I'm like, "My group? What's this mean?" And I saw I could open up a Facebook group. So that's what I did. I opened up a Facebook group and I opened it as a secret group. Only me. Just a place where I could stash stuff. That way, if I didn't have time to read it, I could come back and look at it again later. And a few other people I had mentioned it to looked at it and they're like, "Oh, you need to open it up for more people." So I opened it to a closed or a private group. Okay.
Okay.
That way, you don't come in unless you're okay to come in. You don't post unless your post is approved. You know what I mean? This was supposed to be my place to store my info, to show my journey, and then whatever I did to take care of my relationship um, with the state or whatever, I would post it there and store stuff there. That group blew the hell up. I couldn't believe it. I mean, and at the time of the fire, it was knocking on the door of 13,000 people. And that week of the fire, I dropped probably 12 or 13% of the membership that week, starting the next morning, dropped off, which shocked me. Because about 3 or 4 days later, I was starting to get my stuff together, and I went to the group, and I just happened to notice it said 10,000 members. I'm like, what? Oh, am I losing my mind, or wasn't it higher before? So I went into the analytics, and it showed the graph actually was a down graph right at the day of the morning after the fire. All the membership just started dropping hugely, and it dropped down to just over 10,000. And it's starting to bounce up again now. But I thought, isn't that weird? To me, that was just. I don't
That
believe in
is weird.
coincidence.
Yeah, I don't either. Well, and
You
that's
know?
like this thing, like I've been cruising along here, sharing on Messenger and sharing, I'm still able to share to Facebook, but it won't let me share to people on Messenger. The only reason I was able to share tonight was because you sent me back the link and it let me share it.
Yeah, I sent it back to you because then I figured you could hit that little V next to it and forward it to other people. And,
I'm glad you
and
did.
I this morning, actually, I just got off my Facebook hiatus. For the last week, I've been able to share like one thing to open Facebook, but nothing to any of my groups. I've got Tactical Sovereignty Administrating the Estate. I've got Origins of Eternity by Tactical Sovereignty, which I want to make you an admin in that you can use to share your
There
calls
we
on.
go.
I've got Exiting Mainstream Media, where you can look at stuff that you're not going to hear on the regular media. And I also have um, tagged to the top there a link with different research tools that people can use to go and really research different things. And I'm not talking about research things like what QAnon talks about with all the indictments or that kind of craziness.
Yeah, I don't even go
But
down that rabbit hole.
yeah, and I've got to say, I had somebody today that was messaging me about QAnon stuff, and I'm like, you know what? You're trading one deception for another one.
Yep.
That's all you're doing because it doesn't matter if it's a black hat doesn't matter if it's a white hat. It's still a deep state hat. people don't realize that.
Yep.
Because if those people are in that position to really do what the American people need and want, they wouldn't be there. I said that about Trump when he was first running. I said, you know what? If he is really for the people, either one, he's not going to win, or two, he'll be dead soon after. JFK proved that.
Yeah, to me, that's one rabbit hole I definitely don't go down, because I don't think any of them people up there has got our best interest at heart. Real quick before we continue, somebody in the chat was asking, what is your Facebook group name again? I was looking for it on Facebook. I was going to try to put the link in the discussion. If one of my moderators could, that would be very helpful. But what's the name of it?
My main group is Tactical Sovereignty Administrating the Estate. My journey.
It's a long one.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if anybody could look that up on Facebook, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I started it out as just tactical sovereignty, and then the more I researched, it was like, yeah, we need to be administrating our own estate. And then I realized people need to realize this is just my journey. You guys can do what you want,
Right.
you know.
You know, I saw that one that you had sent me, or I don't know, you didn't send it to me, but I think you posted it on Facebook, where the guy got pulled over in his car and those cops are just sitting there surrounding him, and then finally they break his window in. Wasn't that you?
It's possible.
And it was something about keeping it on record. And the reason he got pulled over is because he had he didn't have a real license plate. It was something like, it wasn't farm use, it was for sale or something like that. But he was, claiming his sovereignty, saying that he didn't have to have a license and things under the federal government. That's a state law. And I don't know. Like I said,
well,
he went to jail, though. I know that.
Oh, yeah. He went to jail with bumps and bruises and probably some scars from being tased. Don't tase me, bro. But, and this is one of the things. People see information like this, like, oh, Supreme Court says you don't have to have a driver's license, insurance, registration. Yeah, that's true. Unfortunately, this would be a whole long call to itself, but you're operating in a totally different capacity than you think you are. You are, it goes back to what Hamlet and Shakespeare. I have given you one face, but you've put on another. And that's what men have done today. And this is displayed no better than people going out and buying the stores out of toilet paper.
Let me ask you a question. Well, what is this new gold star I got to go get on my license? Something about
Yeah, this isn't really anything new. This goes back, gosh, this was instituted actually under Obama, and I think Florida jumped on it at that time. And if I remember right, there's only several states so far, possibly, that haven't joined. New Jersey was one, and I can't remember what the second one was.
Yeah, they're saying I can't get on an airplane if I don't get this.
Right. And that's what the new license has to be. I remember when Florida did it a few years ago. At first, when you went to the Department of Motor Vehicles in Florida, it had a sign that said, documents needed for Florida driver's license. And then I noticed they changed it. It said documents needed for ID or for identification. And it's like, well, that sounds kind of generic. And when you look into it, this is really all about federal. This is now really a federal ID. It's no longer, and people think, oh, it's a driver's license. No, it's an ID, either a state ID, and now it's actually been turned into a federal ID because the states have all really become franchises of the federal government.
So what do you know on this new ID 2020?
It's the same thing. It's a gold star. There'll be a gold star on there if the state. Now, you don't have to do anything to be compliant to the federal government. The state has to do things to be compliant with the federal government. That means the state has to do certain verifications of who you really are, where you're really from, and where you're really at, which everybody's been deceived on. And I say you need to research that before you research anything. Yeah, but that's what they're doing. They're making sure the states are doing a good verification.
It's kind of funny that it come out right at census time too. That all this is going on.
Oh, absolutely. And also at this time, um, Saturn is in Aries.
No,
Now,
yeah, the
that
cosmology behind this is.
yeah. Now Saturn, now Saturn hasn't been in Aries since I think it's 1994. Now, what happened around 1994? What happened in that year? Something else exploded. Another mind virus exploded. That was the internet.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
You
I was
know,
on tour with the Grateful Dead, so I have no idea.
yeah. Well, your mind was somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, in 1994, the internet pretty much went online. That internet that who was it that invented that? Vice President. I can't remember.
Al
Anyway,
Gore.
yeah, Al Gore, Igor, Al Gore, whatever.
Tennessee
Yeah,
boy.
yeah. So yeah, so that, and to me, mentally, that was the biggest explosion the U.S. has ever had was the internet,
Yeah.
and that big explosion has been used today as a huge deception. Oh, I got to show my shirt.
Please. I survived COVID 19 to
I
20.
survived COVID-19 hoax. Yeah,
Yeah, like I just to me, I know this is a real illness and whatnot, but the numbers aren't adding up as far as like you were saying with cases with SARS and things like that. That's why, like, I just can't buy into that. That's what this is all about. There has to be some underlying factor here.
that's the thing. If anybody would just go and do their research, and look at what happened under SARS, look at what happened under MERS. Yeah, they've got different names all the time. But I also made a post where I showed that all those names, I
Mhm.
showed what they were linked to, and they were all linked to a coronavirus. I mean, because this has been around for years.
Yeah.
It was first discovered in like 1957, which doesn't mean that that's when it started at. No, it's when they discovered it. It's when they were able to discover the strand. And so the strand has done nothing but morph over time. One of the things that's not shown, and people can find it, go to the CDC website, and it'll show you right there that you are more likely to catch this if you've had the flu shot.
Yep.
Oh, gee, isn't that
Absolutely.
amazing?
Yep.
Um,
Especially
because
in the
here's the
last two
thing.
years.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The a virus isn't alive. People talk about, oh, do this to kill the. No, you're not going to kill the virus because it's not alive to start with. Um, it really kicks in. It gets powered up by your body. Your body carries it, and there's certain people who carry it and it doesn't affect them, and others who it does give problems to. And so people say, well, okay, well, where's this virus at? During all the summer months, where's it at? There's nothing that spouts up. No, it's just being carried by people who aren't susceptible to it.
Uh,
And
Just
then
like the common
during,
cold, it goes away in the warmer months.
yeah, and then during these cooler months, it sprouts back up, and the people who carry it transmit it to other people who are susceptible. And they say, oh, it's amazing. Um, the huge number of people who have died are people who have other problems, other afflictions, and oh yeah, they're also older. Gee, gosh,
Well,
it's
now they're
amazing that.
finding there's a lot under the age of 40 now, here in the US at least,
Well, here's the thing, but
or what they're
let me,
saying.
but let me add to the other. Is that isn't it amazing that older people are more likely to die? Huh, that's a
I mean,
freaking. Oh, you blew my mind. Older people are more likely to die. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, well, a lot of things that are happening is people are going in and getting tested, and even if they just have symptoms, even if you have a sniffle or something like that, oh, they're diagnosing it as COVID. They got to keep the numbers up. There was a story I was reading 3 or 4 days ago of a Catholic priest who died of a heart attack. In the newspaper, how did they list it? He died of COVID. It's like, what are you
say,
talking about? The hospital records show he died of a heart attack, and you're calling it COVID?
Well, let me ask you a question. From what I'm hearing, these even the testing they're doing on it is really it's a non-specific test.
Yeah, it's totally non-specific. Think of a correlation between um, a vaccine or a cure and a test. How can you have one without the other? Okay, kind of wonder about that. You know what I mean? If you can test and you can identify it specifically, then you should also be able to specifically attack it as well. And like I was saying earlier on my podcasts I do on Sunday nights for Tactical Saturday, I asked, I said, hold on a second, virus, okay, virus, scary. You need to wear a mask. Oh, let me put that mask back on. Anyway, um, I thought, wait a second, when HIV virus, that's a virus. When that sprouted up and we heard about all these popular sports figures or actors or whatever that had contracted it and were going to die, why weren't people running out and buying face masks then? It's a
I
virus.
guess they flooded the store for condoms instead.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess somebody else made money instead. Well, but if you look at who really owns, who is the parent to the companies for the toilet paper companies, you're going to find the Koch brothers,
Yep.
which I think is interesting because they've existed in the last three presidential administrations. Amazing, these same people still stay employed by the same people running everything.
I want to ask your opinion though on this. This is where I kind of try to look at it from the positive aspect. This thing's called the coronavirus, and right now is a major time of enlightenment. There's no doubt about that at all. And the crown, the corona, the similarities there. Is this a turning point, maybe?
Yeah.
I think so. I think this is
Um,
where we can take the reins.
well, yes, but it's going to be in low numbers of people that do that, that really realize what this is really all about. Because when you look at this situation with the coronavirus and talking about, being the crown, they want you to be afraid of your crown. They want you to be afraid of your sovereignty. They want you to be afraid of who you really are and the power that you really have. And seeing everybody go empty the shelves at the store shows you that people don't know who they really are and
Yeah.
where their power really lies at. And that to me is scary. But and that also shows me it's a small percentage of us that is going to recognize the power of the crown that's been given to us and the power of the authority that we really have if we exercise it. And that's what we got to do. And you know what? Maybe the small number of us will help lead the others. That, to me, that's the positive thing that needs to happen. I mean, I'm looking right now at that backdrop that I shared with you. It's the parting of the Red Sea. And what happened there? It was a small number of people.
Oh, tried to turn, but it didn't work.
Careful. But it was a small number of people, especially at that time
Yep.
and at that era. Those people were small. And what happened with those people? It sprouted into a huge movement.
It
Unfortunately,
only
that
takes a
movement,
few.
yeah, unfortunately, that movement has been corrupted. But if people also look at that photo, what do you see at that end of the wall of water? You see the light. It's like the light at the end of the tunnel. There is a light there. And it should be something positive that we all look for. That really should be where our eyes are on. Our eyes should be
Absolutely.
on the positive and on the light and how we can help people out. And when I say the light, I want people going, "Oh, he must be a Mason. He's talking about the light." No, I'm talking about the real truth behind everything.
I got
Uh,
a question. We'll continue talking here, but you said something about the rods. Would you either want to, or actually, I'll leave it up to Chad if you don't care. Would y'all rather take some questions from the rods, or would you rather do some call in? It's up to y'all, and leave it in your hands. But go ahead, Brian. Is that okay with you?
um, I'll leave it to the crowd.
Okay.
Go ahead. I don't know I guess how I've got things set up here. I could probably do the rods if people want to see stuff from the rods.
Man,
But
people always love them. I'm telling you, people wanted me to have you back just for the rods.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, let me clarify something about the rods, because when I looked into the rods, I went and I was at a meeting with Rex Bear from Leak Project.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that blew my mind away because Rex was like sitting next to me and Jeff Doherty had the rods and he said, please point to Rex. And they pointed straight over at Rex next to me. And I was like, holy flipping crap.
I remember you told me about that.
And so, yeah, I went home and made my own. I didn't order them from somebody or online, which you can do it. I think it's more important if you make your own.
I think so as well.
Yeah, and it's easy to do. You make your own, put them under your pillow for a week, keep them with you wherever you're at. Keep them in your car, things like that. You know what I mean? And I hear a lot of people have talked about like, oh, you're talking about divining. This is anti-scripture and stuff like. Oh, I'm sorry. Have you heard of Aaron's rods in the Ark of the Tabernacle? What did Moses strike the rock with? A rod. What did he use when the Red Sea was parted? Like the picture behind you. Go also. You can go to your great Oracle, Google or Bing, whatever, and go to images and just put in 2 words: Jesus and rods, and look at the photos that show up. You're going to see photos of the rising of Nazareth, where he died. And what's Jesus holding? He's holding a rod.
Well, I've always said they always try to rush and put a negative label on anything of importance.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's saying rods, so I hope you can make it happen.
Okay. All right. Let me remove my headset and grab them. I'll be right back.
Right on. Yeah, folks, I've been looking forward to this, actually, doing these rods things. Don't forget, tomorrow night we will be doing the Higher Minds training. I think training is going to be joining me. Like I said, I want to kind of intertwine like the feminine aspect in between each chapter. So we're going to start, including that as well. So hopefully y'all enjoy that. And like I said, try to ask more questions and things like that tomorrow night. And we're going to show how we can all overcome this, because truly we are the master of our own thoughts. So speaking of thoughts, we need some questions, folks.
All right. Now let me explain something about my rods. Now. Yeah, let me explain something about the rods. And I know we're not getting all the questions in. You could probably do a 3-hour broadcast and try and follow everybody's questions and never get them all in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's first come, first serve, 1 question per person as of right now.
Here's several things people need to comprehend about this type of stuff. Is that when you're contacting the powers around you or the powers within, number one, they're not going to give you the lottery numbers. Why? Yeah. Because it's not about self-gratification. Okay. It's really about helping others and external things. And if you go in, read the Corpus Hermeticum, for instance, that book is great. It was written long before the Bible was written. Okay. I think Arwayne Steiger has followed that book as well. Yes. Yeah. Now, these rods, for instance, they're copper, and I have a copper tube that I hold on to. So I'm not touching the actual rod. I'm only holding this tube. The rod does whatever it's going to do. All right. So I'm going to start out with a control question. Okay. I haven't talked with them in a week or 2, which would probably surprise people because they're like, oh, if you've got something like that, why aren't you doing it all the time? For starters, and I call them creator. Am I wearing a white hat?
Nope.
They went away. Okay. Creator, am I wearing a black hat? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, I got a question right off the bat. It's a good one.
Hold on, Creator. Okay. Is it okay if we ask questions over Milky Way Messenger's channel?
Sure, thank goodness.
Yes, it is okay. So we know these answers should be good. Okay, go ahead with your first question.
First one is Truth in Me says, is Gaia healing faster and surprising the powers that be? Yes.
And now let me explain this to you.
I mean, I kind of
And,
knew that anyway.
and I've done this with people over the phone as well. I've noticed on some calls, people will ask a question, and then the person with the rods will go and ask the question. I'm not asking the question. I am
Coming from me.
thinking the question as you say it. So you are the one asking the rods, not me.
Okay. All right, then. Rods, is there an increase in the sun's energy right now? That's Phil Christians. Yes. Yeah, like I said, we've been talking about that for a while where we're going into a solar minimum. It's not necessarily that the sun's energy is increasing. It's the radiation that's coming from the sun is what it's increasing.
I have a question.
Okay.
Rods, creator. Will people try and demonize me for using rods?
Oh, absolutely. Let's see. Truth in Me, I just asked your question. Okay, let's see. Shauna D wants to know, is Trump a white hat?
They're not moving. And let me tell you why they're not moving. Okay. You know, everybody, especially with the whole, I brought up Q a little bit ago. Everybody with the whole white hat, black hat thing, all comes from Q. Let me explain something. Whether you're a white hat or a black hat, you're still a faction of the deep state. Okay? Yeah. And just like there's Republicans and Democrats in the government, there's white hats and black hats. One of the things is, and I got this from somebody deep on the inside, from within administration, okay, is that there are two factions within the government. One faction wanted to rule the world at the expense of the U.S., and the other faction wanted to strengthen the USA and put that idea of ruling the world on the back burner. Well, we know who won. It was Trump. And those are the people they think are the white hats. But no, guess what? They're still deep state.
Yeah, she's clarifying. She's saying, is he a good guy? Does he have our best interest?
Okay. Go ahead and ask that again.
Rods, does Trump have our best interest at heart? Is he a good guy? There
nope.
you go.
and what people need to understand is we all know the banks run everything. Okay. Well, prior to Trump running, in the 11th hour, and when I say 11th hour, I mean 11th hour. It was 11 o'clock, after 11 o'clock at night, stroke of midnight, Trump was going to default on $1 billion loan he was in default on. And you can find this on YouTube. The agent for the 72 banks that he owed the money to came on and talked about it. And he said, you know what? And he says, sure. He says, it was 11th hour. He was about ready to default, but he was worth more to us alive than dead. Wow. And so they bailed him out. Well, guess what? Who do you think he's indebted to? The borrower is servant to the lender.
Yep.
Guess what? The banks took care of him. So guess whose bidding he's doing right now?
Well,
all right, anyway, go ahead.
That's why I've been saying this whole time. If you're still caught up in all this political and people in politics, you're way off base, because that really, in the bottom of it, has nothing to do with what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, okay, we'll go back to the rods. It's too bad people wanted to freaking get questions from the rods instead of me. I mean, I feel really freaking. I need to go see if I got toilet paper. Anyway, go ahead.
Big Al, okay, the rods Big Al wants to know, am I going to be safe for the next 16 days on the road? He's a truck driver.
They say yes.
Good deal. Rods, is Mother Earth healing herself? It's Pure Love Ascension. Yes. Okay. See, I'll try to get through these. That way we can get back to you. Okay, Pure Love Ascension. Hold on, honey. Let me get back to you. You've already asked one question. Gary Baxter wants to know, Rods, are we going through thicker space? Is that why the sun's light is weaker? It might need to be worded different.
They're
Are we
not
going,
moving.
Rods? Are we going through a more dense area of the galaxy, which is
Yep.
causing the sun? Okay.
Yep. Yep. They started moving immediately because they knew what you were going to say. That's funny. That's funny.
All right, I'll go ahead and ask hers real quick. Pure Love Ascension again wants to know: is a black hole affecting our energy? Yeah, I knew that
Yeah.
one too.
I think you might need to identify what the black hole is, though. That's my question. Go ahead, though.
See, I got this vision of a black hole from behind the sun. Everybody else is talking about Planet X, and I'm seeing black hole. I was
I think
trying
if
to.
a black hole was sucking everything in, we wouldn't even exist right now. Everything would have already been
Yeah.
sucked in.
Yeah. Let's see. I was thinking somebody said Phil had a question, but I don't see it. So
Oh,
Phil, if
by
you
the
have a
way, I
question,
want to say hi, Gary Baxter. He just had a question, so I just want to say hi to him, by the way.
yeah, Gary's a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Put your raw questions in capital letter. Okay.
Not that I hold anybody in more esteem than somebody else. That's not the case.
I know I love
And
everybody
I've just
equally.
seen more comments. Oh, this is weird. This rod on the left is wandering. They like to look around. They
Oh,
like to look
really?
around, and I think they are like looking for other energies and stuff. But yeah, they'll do that. And sometimes before I even use them, I'll just hold them and I'll tell them, go ahead. And they'll just wander around and look around all over the place. And then they'll return to what I call home.
Mm-hmm.
Whoop, whoop. They just came to home when I said that. All right.
All right, Gary's got another one. Rods, in which way is it affecting our energy, positively or negatively?
Mm. They're not moving. And I can tell you why they're not moving. It's all in whose version of negative or positive.
It's all in your reality, what you make of it.
Yep.
You are the master of your thoughts.
Now let me ask them. Are things moving in the positive direction of the powers that be?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You got to kind of like really specifically
Yeah, you
identify
got to
things.
be specific.
And
Um,
what when people are in court or you're writing documents for court, you have to think the same exact
yep,
way.
yep. Rods, Brandy Robinson wants to know: will this comet in April cause outages?
No answer. There's probably gonna be many comments. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, there's man, we're going like it said, we're going through a dense debris field right now, and there's meteors coming by this weekend. This year is going to be action packed.
Let me redefine her question. Creator rods. Is there going to be a meteor in April that affects the Earth as we know it?
Ask it if it's going to be in May.
No. Said no. Okay. Is there a meteor in May that is going to affect the Earth as we know it?
Ooh, I thought it was going yes, sir.
No.
Huh.
Nope.
All right, we got one more here. David Castle wants to know: is 5G helping spread the virus through frequency? No,
Oh wow,
I
that's
am
interesting.
surprised at that one.
That you know what? That's one of the things with the rods. There's question. Everybody thinks, well, they say, well, your mind and your energy, whatever you feel like, that's what does it. And I can tell you right now, absolutely not, because there's things that I have asked the rods that afterwards I set the rods down and stood back and said, oh my god, because it went totally against everything I had thought.
Right.
Um, here's one question right now that I think is very important. Creator rods. Are the churches in America today following the right God? No,
Imagine
they're
that.
not. They're all 501c3 churches.
Yeah. All right,
Uh, eh, eh,
one more, and then
nope.
we're gonna put it out. I just got one more. It's
All
a
right.
good one. Truth in Me wants to know: will humanity come together through this?
Okay. Truth in Me wants to know,
Will
Creator rods,
humanity
will
come together?
humanity come together through this? Oh, no. They slowly went no.
Well, I mean,
Um,
I'm not
well,
surprised.
here's a question: is humanity still going to rely on their media and their government to tell them everything. Man, I have totally lost freaking faith in humanity. These
Well, see what
people,
I was going to
what's
say
wrong with
though.
these people?
I can kind of see it because I've been saying for a long time, and I'm not trying to be a gloom person or anything like that, but really to to get the outcome that we're desiring in as far as a new earth, a new way of thinking, it's going to take pretty much a global devastation of some sort.
You know,
That's just the way I see it.
at some point with this whole patriot movement or Q movement or whatever you want to call it, everybody praising or looking up to the commander in chief, which is a military term, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
you know, at some point, something's going to happen. And I don't care if it's a Republican, I don't care if it's a Democrat, but
Don't
at
matter.
some point, something is going to occur where it's going to kick everybody on their butt because who they thought was their God and Savior just fricking turned their back on him. And it's not going to be until that point where people say, you know what, we can't freaking look at man-made administrative policies to guide us. We have to guide each other. We have to take care of each other. And unfortunately, that's what it's going to take. It's just like as long as I've had the group and as much information as I've put out, I have people that will comment very rarely and stuff on things. But oh my God, when they get a ticket, when they get a speeding ticket, for instance, or when it looks like they're going to lose their house, for instance, instead of them contacting me right then, you know what? I get a phone call at 7:30 in the morning that says, "Hey Bryan, I got to be to court at 8:30 a.m. Da da da. What should I do?" And it's like, why does everybody wait until they've had their freaking
Just like with
butt
this
kicked in the
toilet
ditch?
paper and stuff, I've been on here telling people to prepare with food and things for I don't know how long.
You
And
know
I
what?
mean,
You know what pissed
thankfully,
me
a
off?
lot have.
You know what pissed me off the other day? I had noticed that, and I've been in the store several times, and I see the bread aisles wiped out. I see the freaking all the other things that are wiped out. And well, one thing when I saw the bread aisles wiped out, I went over to the baking aisle and I said, "Are people buying bread? Are they buying sugar? And are they buying yeast?" And guess what? All that stuff was all there. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Well, what do they think they're going to do after that loaf of bread runs out? I would rather buy stuff that will make me bread for the next few months
And
than for the
then you
next
can
week.
make penicillin.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. But one of the things that really ticked me off is I went over to the pet aisle. There was plenty of dog food, plenty of cat food, and I thought, really? What do you are more concerned about yourself than your maybe they plan on eating their pet later. I don't know.
Man, that's just the way it is now. People are so self involved and self absorbed, and
I'll tell you
it's the media.
I'll tell you what, with my pets, when I have my pets, um, I probably had a better stock of food long term for them than I had for myself. Because it would you know what? I had a dog that whenever his bowl was empty, he would grab his bowl. I took a picture of it. It was great. He would grab his bowl and carry it over to me and just stand and stare at me holding his bowl. And
That's
so
funny.
yeah, it would break my heart if my pet was in need.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But
Well, listen, I mean, it's already been an hour, but won't you end us on a positive note? And thank you so much for returning. And also, I want you to tell everybody once again how they can find you.
um my group on Facebook, as far as long as it stays up, is Tactical Sovereignty, Administrating the Estate, My Journey. I also have a page called Tactical Sovereignty Secrets. I
Hmm.
made that secondary. That way, if one thing dropped, I had another. But I also found by linking the two that during my highness for Facebook, I could use my persona from Tactical Sovereignty Secrets to do things in Tactical Sovereignty. Kind of curious. There's some other little backdoor things you can do with Facebook, but I'm not going to divulge them here.
Right.
But anyway, I'm Bryan Parker on Facebook, and that's Bryan. The Y is Scottish, I is Irish. That's one way of thinking of it, and I'm Scottish. Um, and at the same time, I would recommend people. I also have a WordPress site. You can go to WordPress.com and look up Bryan Parker Tactical Sovereignty, and you'll find information there. And on YouTube, I am Bryan Parker Tactical Sovereignty, and I've got, I don't know, 250 created playlists there, and each created playlist is topic specific, which
Oh,
will be able to wrap your mind around that specific topic and whatever you're researching, whether it's how to get the real title to your automobile instead of the certificate of title.
mhm.
Certificate of title only means a title exists. All right, I've got that. I've got what's really running things here that people don't know about. Um, Information about the birth certificate, even how to get your real birth certificate, because nobody really has it. Anyway, so those are places you can contact me at. And
So plenty of rabbit
otherwise,
holes.
right, lots of rabbit holes, but then some of them really have value.
Yeah,
And other than that, if you want to contact me, I would say contact Milky Way messengers. I'll just direct everybody to you.
that's fine. I'll put them in touch with you. No doubt. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can find me sometimes if I'm not working on his live broadcast. I'll be in the chat room somewhere.
Yeah, we'll have to make this sooner rather than later again. And thank you, Mary Wynn. She put the link for your Facebook group in the chat. So if y'all want to check that out, and Mary, she is my best moderator by far. And Mary, once again, you need to let me know what style of T-shirts you want and what size, so I can ship that out to you, especially before they halt all this shipping. So let me know quick. But Bryan, definitely, it's always a pleasure, brother. And I've got the utmost respect for you, and I appreciate you and everything you do and everything you've brought. Stay strong, brother.
Absolutely. Appreciate you too. And, anybody else on YouTube or whatever other media site that is really showing factual information and truth and showing a positive side
Yeah.
instead of all the fear mongering. Because you know what? Fear is the lowest vibration.
Yep.
And they're keeping everybody at the lowest vibration right now. Think about that. You're not, because people can't hang out close together, you're not seeing the commercial airliners in the sky. The skies are cleared from commercial planes as well.
For the most part, I've seen a couple.
Is there something going on in the skies they don't want people seeing? I don't know.
Well, you would think if there was, they would still continue to spray.
Well, yeah, I'm not even talking about the spraying though. I'm just saying.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, I got you.
Else in the heavenlies going on,
Yeah,
just something to consider.
like you said, when you're inferior, folks, you are inferior. So, like I've been trying to say, go out here and spread some music, spread some artwork, anything. Just spread some love and light, because there's enough of this negativity out here. So, as always, and until tomorrow night, higher minds as usual on Monday, higher mind Monday. Be the frequency you want to receive, folks. I love you all. Stay strong and have a good night.
Good night, everybody.